Falcon fans, and of course, JR from Pound4Pound ATL
What?
in
What
the
up?
building. Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. You already know what it is. You already know what to do. One time for the fan episode. What do we got? 188. Checking in here. Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, Amazon Podcast, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I don't know. Just Google One Time for the Fan. But while you're doing that, make sure you Google Pound4Pound ATL. JR is in the building with us from Pound4Pound. JR, how you doing, sir?
Oh man, any better than it'd be illegal, my friend.
You see why we have him on the channel here already. T Will is in the building. T Will, how you doing, sir?
Hey man, I'm doing well. Just living in your world, bro. Just trying to pay rent and do these other things and talk about this Falcons football. And hey man, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about. I'm excited to be with Pound4Pound, the man. If you guys have not checked out his show, you need to, because let me tell you, he breaks it down until it cannot be broken anymore. My man is granular. My man is detailed. My man is meticulous, and I'm here for all of it.
There it is.
Jack, I defer to you.
You don't talk about me that way. So I guess JR must be
Oh wow.
he must be the right special guest for tonight.
Wow.
I tell you, because Falcon fans, we bring special guests to the channel.
Oh wow.
You guys seen us with, so many people here that's talk Falcon football with us on our Falcons Fan Talk segments that we have. And tonight with JR from Pound4Pound, you guys gonna hear, not only a diehard Atlanta Falcon fan, but you're gonna hear from a fan that knows exactly what he is talking about. He's been in the content creator community now for the Atlanta Falcons for a while. And of course, when you're doing these channels and these podcasts, it's sometimes difficult to get people on the channel because everybody's scheduled. So when you get a guy like JR who can take the time out of his day to come talk to us on the channel, it's big. So for Falcon fans, once again, welcome JR to the channel. JR, Pound4Pound ATL, give us a little bit of heads up how you started with Pound4Pound and just, what you got going on your channel, and also how people can reach you before we can start talking Falcons football.
You can always find us. We go live 7 p.m. every Tuesday. Me and my co-host Jonathan Holder, we talk for about an hour or so every Tuesday night on whatever current events are going on with the Falcons, whether it's mock drafts, free agencies, scheme stuff, what have you. On the weekends, we try to break down dive in to more specific topics, something that might be on our mind or what have you. And that's if the schedules allow us. It's been a minute, with the holidays and that kind of stuff going on. But I got started really in 2016, or before the Super Bowl run. The team was doing great, but so much of the media around the team was not positive at all. Like, it was, what I've come to now learn and expect of like guys like the Orlando Ledbetter and some of the other talking heads. It was just always just like, negative. And so I said, you know what? I have a phone. I can record myself. I'll start putting my opinion out there. And then, me and Toby linked up. We had a good run for,
shout out Toby.
Shoot. Yeah, really, exactly. Shout out Toby. But we had a good run for good 5-6 years doing this. And then, he split off and did his own thing. And me and Jonathan are keeping it going weekly, just doing what we can, talking about our team.
Falcon fans, T will be back here shortly. He's having a couple technical difficulties on his end too as well, but he'll be back in here shortly. JR, as a diehard Atlanta Falcon fan, just like yourself, you have been through the ups and downs of the team, just like us over here at One Time for the Fan. So we had to ask you just quickly your thoughts about last season, right? And then just a quick thought about the vision of the team going forward now this season. Before we get into some Falcons football here, what you got, JR?
Obviously, last year didn't go well. The last 3 years didn't go the way anybody wanted them to, right? I was a big, head cheerleader, so to speak, of Arthur Smith being here. He was a guy who I pegged like right off the rip as somebody who I felt like could come in and get us pointed in the right direction. Obviously, he couldn't do the one thing that you got to do, which is nail the QB position.
Mhm.
You go too long without good QB play, and like you'll find yourself out of a job.
Mhm.
And so at the end of the day, like for as much as we want to malign the offense that he rolled out, the QB play held him back quite a bit from what he was able to call, what he could run, what he could play.
Mhm.
Um, it was pretty evident. Now that's to me, that was his biggest and glaring mistake, was saying, "Oh yeah, I can win with Desmond Ritter." You know,
Mhm.
he should have seen as a coach, he should have seen that wasn't going to happen, and you know whether it was at least attempt to go after Lamar or whatever, he should have made a better play to go get a QB. He didn't.
Mhm.
So that leads us into this season. I mean, Raheem said it himself, better QB play, and he probably wouldn't be at that podium.
Mhm.
Um, and he's not wrong. It was actually kind of refreshing to hear that being said at a podium, and not behind closed doors, so to speak. So in that aspect, I'm, a little bit more excited about this season than I have been, because it feels like it might be some real true like gut check time. And what up there, Carlton?
Mhm.
um, you know, they knew they had to get good QB play. So
Mhm.
it was, you go out and you're going to do it one way or the other. Either you're going to give up a ton of draft capital, or you're going to pay a ton of money, right?
Mhm.
So they chose the latter, paid a ton of money for Kirk Cousins, which I think is smart. You're pairing a very experienced QB with
Mhm.
a first time play caller. To me, that's a smart move.
Mhm.
You're going to have to do this again in 3 years, probably. And hopefully, um, Raheem and them are still here to do it, because
Mhm.
if you don't win, they won't be.
That's true. That's true. And Falcon fans, you can hear it from JR from Pound4Pound ATL. He's letting everybody know from last season, of course, going to this season, changes have been made to where fans should feel a little bit better about the outcome of what could happen this year. I think Kirk Cousins is a great addition to the
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta Falcons for what they need. We heard about elite processor from Zach Robinson, and of course, them working with Matthew Stafford in the past too as well. Probably led them to going with an experienced guy like Kirk Cousins. Somebody, like you said, can help out a first-time OC, make the job a little bit easier for him to where, what the plays that he's calling for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been through it for years. We've seen him perform at a high level. I understand the playoff record. I understand the big games that people have said he hasn't won. But if you look at his stats and if you look at what Kirk Cousins has done, putting him in this organization with the weapons around him now does look, for us Falcon fans, look a little bit better than what he had in Washington. And even
Mm-hmm.
some for what we had in Minnesota outside of Justin Jefferson.
I was about to say,
Look at our
outside of
yeah.
this last year, when you had Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison
Mm-hmm.
and TJ Hawkinson,
Mm-hmm.
you know, before that he had what, Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Thielen on the back end of his career, kind
Mm-hmm.
of deal. So yeah, I think you could argue that he has a more top to bottom, all talented offensive weapons to throw to.
Yep. Yep. And of course the running game too as well with Bijan and Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
And what will they do in the draft if they would add to the running back room, right? We haven't is Avery Williams a guy to come back and make a small splash here in that third running back role if the Falcons continue to use Avery Williams like how fans want them to, but I think they might go the draft route with getting a younger guy. I mean, CP did a great job here, with Arthur Smith, but it just didn't work out in the end. With CP remaining here as a Falcon. But other moves have been made here, Falcon fans. So, of course, you guys saw this week the Falcons did sign a cornerback,
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Hamilton, which for some Falcon fans, JR, when they saw the Falcons posted, "Welcome to ATL Antonio," you had some fans thinking, wait. There's not too many Antonios in the league that they can remember. So fans were saying, I know it ain't no AB move. I
No,
know it
right?
wasn't AB.
No, no, no,
Falcon fans,
no, and no,
please.
Mr. CT is not coming. He's not strapping on anything anytime soon, as far as pads or helmet goes.
Fans
Um,
were in the chat like Antonio. Not Not who I think it is. No, but yes. Cornerback Antonio Hamilton, who's played some time in the NFL. Of course, some backup role too as well. And he had a couple starting splashes too as well. JR, Antonio Hamilton in the NFL. No, I'm sorry, with the Atlanta Falcons. Do you see him as a depth piece? Do you see him as the cornerback too? Because fans didn't see too much defensive moves from the Falcons in the offseason. And then when a cornerback two is signed who has a little bit of experience, some fans wonder, that has to be the cornerback too. I mean, we're missing a guy right now. They don't know if Clark Phillips or D. Alford might be able to step up and fill that role. But when the Falcons went to go sign the guy who has a little bit of a presence in the NFL, who's played the game before, I love how the Falcons are bringing in some of these, even small-time veterans to help them out with the team. Antonio Hamilton, your thoughts, man?
I honestly thought it was going to be Akio Witherspoon. Was the signing that I had been looking for. He played with Raheem last year in LA. Raheem, spoke highly of him in LA. And, I just figured that generally coaches like to bring players that they're familiar with, with them. And so when I saw that we had signed a cornerback, I was like, okay, here's the Akio Witherspoon. And then when I looked into it, I was like, hey, Antonio Hamilton. Definitely a weird way to spell Akio Witherspoon. But I have to admit, like, I've been out of pocket this whole weekend, so I don't know much about it. I haven't looked into Antonio Hamilton other than, he seems like he's not, okay, let me put it this way. He's not going to stop you from drafting a corner at 8 if that's the route you want to go. Right. You know what I'm saying? Which I would expect between, now and the draft that you're probably going to get the same level of a defensive end, so to speak. It's just, to me, it comes across as Terry covering his bases before he gets to the draft, which we have seen him do for the past 2 years. He likes to roll into the draft with everything covered. It may not be covered at a all-star level, obviously, but covered to a point where he doesn't feel like he has to take a player at a certain position. So that's what I see Hamilton as. Like, can he come in and start? Yeah, he started the last couple of years with the Cardinals, as you just pulled up there. So, but is he going to stop you from, getting a Quinyon Mitchell or getting Taron Arnold or drafting, Kool-Aid McKinstry if he's in the second round or something? Or
even Nate Wiggins if you slide back up into the first.
Right. That's it's not going to stop you from doing that, but it makes you feel better about, AJ Terrell. Now you have Hamilton. Now you got D. Alford. Now you got Clark Phillips. Now you got a little bit more of a well-rounded cornerback room.
Yeah. And Falcon fans, you can hear it from JR. Terry, good for you to be back here on the podcast. We're talking about Antonio Hamilton, Falcons' latest signing. I saw some family members from the Hamiltons mention they feel good to be back home in Atlanta. And I see he was from Johnston, South Carolina, but I guess he must have some connections here in Atlanta with some family members because they were like, we're glad that you're home. You're back home. You're here in the South. So big shout out to Antonio Hamilton.
The South in general, I don't know.
It might be. I mean, the way that they put it on the post was like, you're back here in Atlanta, like you're back home. You know what I'm saying? But then again, I mean, the South is the South, and people love being here. This man spent time with the Raiders, the Giants, the Chiefs, the Cardinals. So maybe it is kind of like you're back home in the South type of thing. Terry, your second brother's cousin's neighbor's second uncle, Terry F. Baby, made a move this week and brought in Antonio Hamilton. Solid, decent vet move, which JR said. It doesn't really show that you wouldn't draft a cornerback in this in the draft, but then again, it shows that you have some pieces there in your cornerback in your secondary room that you can look and say, I feel comfortable with an Antonio Hamilton. I feel comfortable with a Clark Phillips, with a D. Alford, with an AJ Terrell, and I do think they still add to the cornerback room too as well. But you see the stats right here on the screen for a guy who has some experience playing the cornerback position in the NFL. Falcons brought him in. Terry, your thoughts when they signed Antonio Hamilton, not Brown, Hamilton.
I think it's a great move. I think Terry Fontenot really wants to go best player available. And I think he doesn't want to be tethered or locked into a corner. He doesn't want to be, okay, well, you have to get this guy or you have to get that guy. The Falcons, for the first time in a long time, are free to do what they will, when they will, how they will. They can draft anybody. They can draft an offensive tackle. They could draft you 80 yards on the run, bro. 75 points in that game that we won't talk about, but it happened the day before you threw 80 on the run.
You don't have to see the film to understand the conversation.
They don't understand
80 on the run. JR, I threw 80 on the run one time in the game.
I mean, do what you got to do, bro.
80 on the run.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to win the game. I was
getting
ready to pack my stuff up and head home, and coach said you got one more play left in you.
Hey, let me tell you something. If I'm your agent, I'm just going to say 80 on the run. Hey, that's it. I'm not going to say anything else.
And the night after, I scored 75 in the basketball game in 3 quarters.
80 on the run. 80 on the run. Book it. Let's go. What are we doing? What are we talking? How many millions? Yep. No, but and in all seriousness, the Falcons are free to do what they want to do. You know what I mean? I think this move, I love the moves that they're making.
Yeah.
I love the moves that they're making. I like this move. I like the fact that we went, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but I'm going to do that. I like the fact that we went to visit Michael Penix. And you might think, well, you're crazy, Terry. Why? We just signed Kirk Cousins. Why would we go visit Michael Penix? I mean, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Well, let me tell you why I like the move. I don't think there's a snowball's chance, and you know what, that we signed Michael Penix, but we put it out there in the thoughts of the minds of the GMs of the teams under us that they may take Penix. So maybe we need to trade with them, because if they're interviewing this guy, they may be taking a quarterback. We could go interview some other quarterbacks in the first round. I think that'd be great too, because if you put the mind, if you put the thought out there, if you plant a seed, guess what? We might get a first, second, third round draft pick. If Minnesota calls us in the 11th hour and says, "Hey, we'll give you pick 11 and 23," I'm doing that all day and twice on Sunday, and I'm not going to feel bad about it.
Nope.
So if you can put it in their minds that you're open and you're flexible, and that's what this move does at quarterback, believe it or not, it just says, well, they could go with what they have. Right? They don't have to necessarily draft a quarterback here. They don't necessarily have to draft a defensive end here. You know what I mean? We signed Eddie Goldman. If you want to know the truth, if we signed Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree, let's get the game back together. It gives us flexibility. So from that perspective, I like it. I'm going to defer to you, Jack. What say you?
I mean, of course, with the Falcons bringing in Antonio Hamilton making a veteran move at cornerback shows me that for the draft, I think it's going to be edge rusher. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they do go a corner route. But then again, we talked about this, Terry. They're not going to go tight end. They're not going to go safety. They're not going to go middle linebacker. They're not going to go offensive guard. I don't think they're going to go tackle or running back. We can kind of narrow it down. Some would say it's wide receiver right now after selecting the cornerback, right?
It could be.
For me, I'm all excited what the Falcons are doing right now. I can't believe that we're in a position with this team to just say that we're going to go win a shit ton of games this year and make it back to the playoffs. I'm just excited to say that every single time. The Michael Penix situation, and I'm sure, JR, you can back me up on this. He's a phenomenal player. I understand that he may be a target earlier when the Falcons did not have a quarterback. Before they signed Kirk Cousins. It was go the rookie route in the draft. Try to get the guys in the 1, 2, and 3. Trade up. We talked about this on the channel. We gave the option of if you trade up, what would happen? But if you can't trade up, what would happen? And I think the Falcons didn't wait for if you can't trade up. They went ahead and signed Kirk Cousins. But then we heard Raheem's comments about Taylor Heineke, and he would have to fight. Remember, JR? He has to fight for that quarterback 2 spot.
So he took a pay cut and yep.
You're hearing it from Jared. He took the pay cut too as well. So to hear that the Falcons had a private workout with Michael Penix, I got some fans texting me like, you better be careful if Penix is the guy at 8, because then you're going to really have a situation where if Kurt hopefully it doesn't happen. But if Kurt somehow, reinterests himself in the season, or he can't play week 3, week 4, 5, then here comes Michael Penix or here comes Taylor Heineke. For me, I don't know just yet about Penix at 8, but it does sound like it could help increase the trade potential if teams behind you want to move in on Penix. But then they're looking at the Falcons like, do they trust in Kirk Cousins at 36? Some teams get to wondering. It makes you think more. Why would the Falcons even have a private workout with Penix?
There you go.
It makes some teams wonder, why would they do such a thing? So I have to go to JR now. Maybe JR can help me out. The Penix re-signing, Antonio Hamilton brought in this week. Does it trade? Does it change your draft board at 8, JR? And just, Michael Penix private workout. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that it's like a little more than due diligence in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say it is like you obviously have a guy that they are intrigued by, the arm talent, the high level of accuracy, because like he finished the last 2 seasons with 65% completion, throwing over 4,000 yards each season. Mm-hmm. A lot of experience. I don't think the age bothers them as much as it bothers us. Mm-hmm. Because you figure if you go, like, say you do what T. Will was talking about, you trade with the Vikings, you go down to 11 and you pick up 23. Mm-hmm. So you need to have a plan for that 23rd pick, mm-hmm. right? That 11 could still be one of your big 3 edge rushers, whether it's Turner, Latu, or Verse. Mm-hmm. Either one of those guys are going to be sitting. One of those 3 guys is going to be sitting there at 11.
We know that, right, JR? They will be sitting.
That's like you book it in that aspect. But now, like, say you do pick up that 23rd, or you pick up a extra second. Now you have, okay, I need to do some due diligence on guys like Michael Penix, that that the coaching staff may really like. You also got to remember, now, granted, it wasn't there when Jimmy Lake was there, but Jimmy Lake did coach at Washington, mm-hmm. right? So he could have some, other intel from inside the building with, connections still there. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't put much in there, but that's a connection. You always mm-hmm. have to look at every connection that you can. You bring up the Eddie, you bring up the Eddie Goldman. We joked about on our show, like he's here until the Georgia Heat gets here, but we'll see.
But no, they gave him a number. He got 99.
Well, I'll say this: like you talk about, briefly talk about connections. Jay Rogers, our D-line coach, coached him in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So that could be another like solidifying. Hey, man, come back and play. For me, kind of deal, and help me get this thing rolling. Mm-hmm. So with the Penix thing, as I stated earlier, you got 3-4 year stops with Kirk Cousins, more like probably 3. That puts mm-hmm. him at 39. I think 3rd year is when you can walk away from his contract without much of a financial hit. So, mm-hmm. You let Penix sit for 2 years, learn the system, and be the backup, and then maybe he can step mm-hmm. in. So I see it as a due diligence. I don't see it as a mm-hmm. you don't hand Kirk Cousins $90 million guaranteed and then go draft a quarterback because you're not sure about Cousins. So mm-hmm. that's my thought process anyway.
Falcon fans, hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button. JR from Pound4Pound ATL is in here talking Falcons football with One Time for the Fan. Big shout out to Chase from Dirty Fanatics United, also One Time for the Fan, not here with us tonight. Big shout out to Bodie, traveling the world. Don't know what city, don't know what state you're in right now, Bodie, but enjoy, my brother. Our draft night show is coming up too as well, so be prepared for that. As we sit here and talk Falcons football with JR, we talked about a little bit of Antonio Hamilton, the recent signing from the Atlanta Falcons, private workout the Falcons have scheduled. With the young quarterback. And it gets you to kind of wonder if the Falcons can go that direction. Would they go that direction in the draft? JR, your draft board, looking at the private workout with, Michael Penix, and of course, there's going to be other players they're going to have private workouts with. But with the private workout, how far did Michael move up your draft board after this private workout? Are you worried that the Falcons may select Michael Penix, or they're just doing their due diligence on all the players?
Yeah, I'm not like okay. I'm not worried that they. But let me put it this way: I don't think they take him at 8. I don't think he moves to the very top of the draft board. Now I know Terry has said more than once that he's not scared to add to a position of strength, and I believe him. I really do. I do not think that in a year where you're trying to get back to winning, get back to the playoffs, I don't see that as being I'm going to use my most valuable resource, being my 8th overall pick, on a player that realistically is going to sit a year, potentially or two, right? It's like I just don't see that happening. Like Green Bay, when they did that with Jordan Love, was in a different situation with Aaron Rodgers. You didn't have a glaring need, right? To me, right now, if we don't do anything else, your biggest glaring need is edge rusher.
Yep.
So, which I find it interesting, because as T. Will said earlier, you don't like Terry hasn't gone into the draft needing anything, so to speak, not a glaring need, right? Which has allowed him to take Pitts, London, Bijan, right? It allowed you to take those players because you didn't have a glaring need. Well, right now, sitting here on the 7th of April, is that what day we are? Yep, the 7th of April. You have you have a glaring need.
Yep.
Your glaring need is CB2, edge rusher, safety 2 in a too high safety system that we're probably going to run. You need another safety. So you have some glaring needs. You're going to roll into, unless they do some major contract restructuring, sign AJ to a extension to lower cap hits, things like that. You're not really bringing in a needle mover at edge right now. There's not really one out there. I mean, you can argue Yannick Ngakoue as the best pure pass rusher out there, but he's a designated pass rusher. He don't play the run, right? So
and he didn't have a great year last year.
No,
to be honest with you,
he didn't.
Yeah, we went over some of the free agents that's still available at pass rush, and it's like Falcons would probably be better taking a rookie than looking at some of the guys.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Like you can bring back Bud and you can bring back Calais.
Yes, to help. Yes,
and then that would be nice to shore up. They brought in, or at least have a visit scheduled with a, I can't the name.
The guy from Washington.
Yeah, the Washington guy, but he had like 2 sacks last year.
Yeah.
So again, that's another Antonio Hamilton level signing.
Yeah.
That's not going to preclude you from drafting. And that's what it looks like. Like you're going to roll into this draft needing a Dallas Turner, needing a Leo Latu, needing a Jared Verse.
You've mentioned these names multiple times, JR. We're getting ready to get to the draft in a minute. Are you trying to set us up for your draft board right now?
Oh, dude, like right now, for me, if I'm sitting in Terry's chair, like number 1, number 2 with a bullet is, Dallas Turner and Quinyon Mitchell. Those 2 are like the top of my boards right now. And depends on like a lot of the talking heads, draft analysis people that I trust in the media, like they have Quinyon Mitchell as a top 10 player. They have Terrion Arnold as a top 10 player. This is the only part
of pro day too. Solid
right.
pro day.
And this is the part that somewhat worries me. The edge rushers outside of Dallas Turner, they don't have any of those in the top 10.
Yeah.
They're top 15, top 20. But again, you're not going, if it's top 15, you're not going to not take them at 8. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not that much of a
difference.
Of a stretch. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right along the lines, JR, what you're saying. Because we've done some mocks here on the channel. And I think the craziest mock we've done, Terry, was when we traded back with the Jets and was able to pick up Turner and then Latu in the late first. Oh, no, we traded back with the Vikings and was able to get Dallas Turner and Latu. And Latu was at 23, 24?
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
And I saw a couple more mocks right after it where Latu was like late 20s, and it's like,
well, you got to
does
remember,
the Falcons want to reach at 8 to grab this guy, JR? Yeah.
You remember a few years back, well, not last year, but the year before, you had Jermaine Johnson coming out of FSU, right? I was down at the Senior Bowl that year where he was just absolutely dominating everybody. And then come draft night, dude, he just falls and falls and falls and falls and falls, almost like to the Jets at the end of the first. Or was it the end of the first? Maybe in the beginning of the second. Either way, nobody really could figure out why, and still don't know. But now you have a guy like Latu that a lot of people feel like he's at his ceiling. He plays with a lot of finesse. He has a lot of moves, but he doesn't play with a ton of power. Then you add that on top of the neck issue. Now, it hasn't bothered him in the past 2 years, and I get that.
In NFL, it will, though.
Right.
And
but
owners and GMs do not play about that type of stuff. It is serious issues. Yeah.
The last guy, so it was Nate Tice on The Athletic that brought this up. I want to make sure that I don't want people thinking I'm smarter than I am. But the last guy who came into the league with a serious neck issue was Leighton Vander Esch. He got drafted in the third round by the Cowboys and played 5 years. And he's retired after 5 years. So I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with Latu, but that's something that you have to file away, as in, like, this is a concern.
This is true. And if you're mentioning that, and of course, shout out to the young journalist from Athletic who mentioned that, if the Falcons are, Terry and Raheem and these guys and these geniuses in that war room, Jared, don't you think this has been brought up in a conversation some way, somehow?
Oh God, yeah.
With these guys who are putting together the S53 that they could under
100%,
Raheem.
100%.
They're looking at the injury of not only Kirk Cousins because he come off the Achilles, but you're looking at a guy like Latu, to where even Scott Karisic mentioned it here on the channel of why Latu is dropping. Because at one point before the free agency, way back, we're talking about maybe week 16, 17 of the NFL season last year, Dallas Turner and Latu were kind of projected to the Falcons. I kept seeing Turner, CBS Sports, NFL Network, Turner. This is on like early mocks. And then a couple of them had Latu in there. But now as we get closer to the draft, you have more fans even putting wide receiver over Latu. They're like, if you don't get Dallas Turner, go wide receiver. Don't even go Latu. And then you got some fans jumping in there saying, no, go and get Verse because of what he has done at Florida State too as well. I mean, you heard what JR said. He was down at the Senior Bowl a couple of years ago watching Jermaine Johnson just wreak havoc along the Senior Bowl. But then when draft night came, he just wasn't where most fans would have projected Jermaine Johnson to be. So for fans that's thinking, and this is a question for you, JR, I've heard that some fans are saying Dallas Turner is a one-step guy. He only has one move. Pull the arm down and just go. Versus Latu and Jared Verse, where these guys are, skilled in what they've been doing as a pass rusher. Is Dallas Turner being, I guess, underlooked by fans, or is it because of the Alabama thing? Or what is it about Dallas Turner that fans are like, nah, don't get him. Because right now it's looking like it might be him. So, JR, please bring us up to speed on a Dallas Turner and how he could fit for the Atlanta Falcons.
Let's see. Okay, so Dallas Turner, I think the concerns that I see a lot of people have is Dallas Turner is a like 240, 250, right? And so that's bringing back like awful memories of Vic Beasley.
Oh,
in there, because he's a speed guy, and they see Turner as a small speed guy. Turner plays with a tremendous amount of power as well. He has more than just one move. He does the swipe, quite a bit to try to get hands off of him. If a tackle gets locked up to him, there is a chance that he gets like straitjacketed and people get concerned about that. But
like what Taylor Lewan did to Vic Beasley that time in Tennessee that year, just tossed him all over the field left and right. I mean, that was a tough game. But yeah, Jared, I know where you're going.
I believe the term is he sunned him.
He sunned him. That's a new one on me there. But the deal when you're looking at a guy like Turner is it's not just sacks. You also should be focused on like tackles for loss. So you're making plays at or behind the line of scrimmage right? So 14 and a half tackles for loss with 10 sacks in the vaunted SEC. On an Alabama line that doesn't have a plethora of like NFL talent as it has, in the past, with, the transfer portal being what it is. I think that Turner gives you much more in versatility than Verse or Latu do. Like you can drop Turner into coverage, and with the defensive line that like Raheem likes to play, I don't know how familiar y'all are with like simulated pressures and creepers and stuff like that. Like having a guy who you can on one play line up at the edge and him be effective, but then also the next play drop him into coverage and him be effective. That's a boon for a type of coach like Raheem and Jimmy Lake.
Okay. Yeah, that's very valuable. You bring 5 guys to the line, and especially in a 3-4, and the Steelers do this very well. Oftentimes they'll bring 5, 6 to the line. You don't know which guy's coming, which guy's dropping into coverage. So, when you have a Dallas Turner who can do both, it's very effective, and it is a good fit for a 3-4 scheme. So I do agree with you, sir. I agree with that. Whereas I don't know the coverage skills of Latu and Jared Verse, but I guarantee you they're not what they are in Dallas Turner, because Dallas Turner is an athlete.
Right, correct.
So,
he has the athletic profile to be able to handle that kind of stuff, where like the next best one in those multiple type roles would be a Latu. Verse is more of your, more of a traditional defensive end. Like he plays the run good and he plays with a lot of power, but I don't know if I'm necessarily dropping Verse into coverage.
Yeah.
Falcon fans, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button. It's free, not only on our channel, One Time for the Fan. Head on over to Pound4Pound ATL and please hit the like, share, and subscribe on their videos too as well, on their content. Let's help grow this content community the right way, right? And when you got guys like Pound4Pound ATL talking Falcons football in a positive way, where we want to see the team win, but also breaking down, of course, like Terry said, breaking it down to the breakdown. Like if it gets broken down anymore, what would it be, Terry? The way that JR
broken down to his very last compound. Shout out to KRS-One. My brother gives me a hard time about it, but one of my top 5 rappers, whatever, Eric. I said it. But anyway, I mean, look, I think I think the Falcons will go edge rusher at 8. I mean, I'd be surprised if they didn't, or they could trade back to 11 or 12. I think to JR's point, it's a sucking chest wound, man. We got to get an edge rusher. I think if we do that, we're good. I think Terry's going to get it right. I just
love how we're at the point now, Terry. Sorry to cut you off. We're at the point now where even some fans are saying, be careful at 8 with that pass rusher. You remember the last couple pass rushers we got at 8? Like, it's even getting to that point now, where fans are like, do you remember Vic Beasley? Do you remember Jamal Anderson?
That's a fair point, but what they have to understand is this is a different team of scouts. This is a different team of personnel assessing edge rushers. So you have to, it's not the same old talent evaluators that are scouting these folks. But, I can understand them being a little leery of it. I mean, it's not something that heretofore we've done well, but, things change.
To piggyback off of what you just said there, Terry, Dawn Staley just mentioned that when she won the championship with South Carolina. One of the first things that she said, she gave a shout out to her scout team. Who went in there before the season started and gave Dawn Staley the look of these players would make this team great this year. And the same talent evaluators that we've had with Terry since he's been here, he has put a lot of solid, decent product on the field for Atlanta Falcons. So when it comes to draft night, I'm going to sit back, and I'm not even going to call no names this year. Last year, it was heavy on Jalen and go Bijan, and the chat was going crazy. I ain't going to call no names this year. I'm just going to sit back and welcome the newest member of the Atlanta Falcons. JR, quick question for you. Eddie Goldman got a number.
Yes, he did.
He's number 99, and you wore the NWO shirt tonight, so you mean business.
Yes, he does. Yes,
Some would
he
say,
does.
like you said, he's only good until the Georgia Heat hits him.
I got look, man.
When them bugs start, where these bugs come from? Boy, you've been out here. You've been missing for 2 years. You don't remember these bugs?
Look. I'm gonna go ahead and call. I made a statement on our show when the NFL Network put up their little like blurb on Eddie Goldman. They couldn't even use a picture of him in a Falcons t-shirt, much less a jersey. Okay, so this one of those things where, you know, the old saying goes like, you don't believe it till you see the white in their eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like that's until I see him actually suiting up in a preseason game, I might believe it then. Like, you can't retire on me 2 years in a row and me not, you know, crack jokes on you because now you've done it to yourself. But with that being said, it, like, I hope it's for real, right? Because there's your nose tackle.
But why do you hope it's for real?
Because there's your nose tackle. At least it is a Antonio Hamilton level nose tackle. With the fact that he hadn't played in 2 years, I worry about any player that ain't took a snap in 2 years. I asked the question on our show, like, who was the last player that sat out for 2 years and actually come back and did something? And the only name we could come up with was Vic. And like, he's the only one that we could come up with that sat out for 2 years. Like, you could almost say Deshaun Watson. He almost basically sat out for 2 years.
Yeah, he had the court case, all that stuff going on in the injury.
Right, he had all that stuff going on. Then he got injured, but he ain't looked the same since he come back.
This wasn't a injury or court situation with Goldman either. This was just I'm taking a step away from football. Just after a couple of videos were posted where he's working out and he looks like he's back in shape. But you mentioned, JR, that this may be your nose tackle. Tell us on the positive side of this, what an Eddie Goldman, who was playing in the NFL previously before he took a step away, what type of Eddie Goldman we can get if we get the Eddie Goldman we want. I mean, you talked about he could be that nose tackle. What are we looking at with this Eddie Goldman?
Right, you're looking at like 6'3", 332 pounds. The last time he was, charted at a weight, 13 career sacks. His last 2 years was 1 sack and then a half sack. I mean, he's a run gap plugger. He's not a penetrating nose tackle, but he's what you need if you're going to run a true 3-4 defense. Like, you've got to have a guy in the middle who can occupy a center and a guard.
Yep.
Because Jimmy Lake's comment is about finding a true nose tackle. Remember, Jimmy Lake said it in the interview.
He did.
He did. And then a couple weeks later, Eddie Goldman's wearing 99.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. That's still look. I know. We saw the nice graphic, but until I see that man walk out the door at Flowery Branch, on the field, giving the deuces to the camera as he runs by, might.
Falcon helmet in hand, mouthpiece in mouth, water bottle being sprayed on the face. It has to be real, right, Jared? We got to see it, right?
Is Eddie Goldman the runaway bride? Is that what we're saying? Is he?
Is he the runner? But he didn't even make it to the chapel, though. If you will. He didn't even make it to the chapel. Like, you got to make it to the chapel first before you can be a runaway bride, right? Like, he said, "I'll do," but then he disappeared.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He rolled out.
He said, "I do via text."
Right.
And then he showed up to the chapel.
Via email. I don't even know if he texted.
He rolled out. I guess he met the stripper at the bachelor party, and he was like, "You know what? This ain't for me. This ain't for me. I can't do this life. This ain't for me."
But then again,
I need freedom.
If you get the Eddie Goldman that JR just mentioned,
hey man,
you're gonna get a presence along that line of Eddie Goldman.
If you get the Eddie Goldman, hey man, if you get the Eddie Goldman that JR mentioned, first of all, to your point, Jack, the two people that are going to love it the most are going to be Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata, because they're going to eat. They're going to eat. You talking about completely changing the face of that line and changing the way you have to defend it. Because make no mistake about it, you have to scheme for them now. You can't just go out there and run your base. You got to scheme from that. You add Dallas Turner to that, or any of the big three, you got some problems. So I hope Eddie does come back. But I'm like JR. I'm gonna wait until my foot connects with that ball to see if Lucy isn't gonna pull it back.
Sheesh.
Okay, because she's pulled it back a couple times on me. You just never know.
One time for the fan here with Pound for Pound ATL talking Atlanta Falcons football. JR, question for you from Joseph Avery. Did Terry not sign a free agent edge on purpose because the price is too high? Or are we going heavy on defense in the draft because we can get what we need cheaper in the draft?
Okay, one thing you gotta think about, like, there's been more than one report that, had they not been able to land Cousins, they were going heavy on multiple like veteran DNs. Daniil Hunter being
one of them,
the main target. It was heavily reported that they were keeping an eye on the Chargers situation with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack.
Yep.
Both of those guys restructured to stay there. Like Daniil Hunter was reported that we actually had a bigger offer on the table than what he took.
He chose Houston.
But he took, fewer years, more guarantees, and a chance to play his hometown. I don't think we checked in on Jadeveon Clowney. But you're not really missing a ton there, in my opinion.
No, you're not.
But yeah, I mean, they swung and missed in a sense, and that's going to happen sometimes, so it's not for the lack of trying. I mean, they last year they were trying to trade for Montez Sweat. It wasn't until like Chicago came in with it sounded like we had a deal in place.
They were active there.
And then, the 11th hour, Chicago comes in with a better deal.
Hassan Reddick.
Hassan Reddick.
Hassan Reddick being one of the other ones too as well.
So it's not for the lack of trying.
Right.
So that's why I'm like looking at what's left on the market outside of like Bud and Calais. Like there's not much there. So it wouldn't surprise me in the next, few weeks before the draft hits, if not one or both of those guys are back. It's already been, kind of rumored that Calais has had conversations with Raheem.
Yeah, Raheem mentioned.
So, we'll see how that ends up.
In this situation, Falcon fans, you have to feel good about the offseason. Even though we didn't sign the big name splash pass rusher that some fans would have said, go and get. We talked about the quarterback issue and how important it was for the Falcons. They went ahead and went after Kirk Cousins. They brought in
Jack.
They needed.
Jack, let's wish Diva CC Sexy a happy birthday.
Definitely. I was getting ready to get to that too as well. Definitely. But matter of fact, before I even get to what I had to get to, let's wish DVCC Sexy Red Peach a happy birthday. Happy birthday, DVCC Sexy Red Peach.
Happy birthday indeed. Go ahead, Jack, sir.
From One Time for the Fan and from Pound for Pound ATL DVCC. Happy birthday to you. And once again, DVCC, when we first started this channel, she wasn't here rocking with us for, probably a couple months to a year or so. And then past couple episodes, DVCC has been heavy on our channel talking Atlanta Falcons football with us. So this happy birthday is important. It means a lot.
Yes,
right?
It does.
Because it's not only just a fan of the Atlanta Falcons, but it's a friend of our podcast here.
Yep.
Right? So
indeed.
Happy birthday to you. If I have my soundboard up, I'll sing. Uncle Steve and them, they got the soundboard. They hit the button, and Steve goes, "Happy birthday!" That shit's pretty cool. We're getting ready to get our soundboard game up too as well.
Hey man,
Larry from the Dixon Way has the soundboard too as well. A lot of content creators have the soundboard, but we're getting ready to get ours and get some things rolling. But yes,
shout out to Dixon Way and Uncle Steve, man. They are some hilarious dudes, man. Definitely enjoy time with them. They are hilarious. But anyway, Jack, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No, you're good. It's all here on the podcast where we talk Falcons football, and the Falcons have got the guy that they wanted. It was Kirk Cousins. They didn't make the big splashy edge rusher move in the free agency. But then again, I think fans would feel comfortable, Jared, like you said, if he was to bring back a Bud Dupree, if he was to bring back a Calais Campbell, somebody to help these young guys in the building. But just know that you have two guys or one of the two guys from the team last year who did make an impact right? And if you're pairing him around David, if you're pairing him around Grady, Caden Ellis, Jesse Bates, around these people, you're just making your defense better. I mean, we haven't even talked much about the offense tonight because the focus is on the defense now as we get closer to the draft. The Antonio Hamilton signing was one. Kadarius Street re-signing too as well, being back with Atlanta. But now we're like, feed us. We want more because we want to build this defense up just the same way that we can get the offense looking too as well. Because with Kirk Cousins, our offense is going to be looking really good this year. Really good this year. Eddie Goldman, of course, the draft updates too as well. We talked about a lot tonight here on One Time for the Fan. And of course, we do have some things to take care of too as well. Chat is live. Chat is lit. Let's go to some of the comments. Falcon fans, bring your questions and comments to the panel, to the chat now so we can talk about it because we got about less than 10 minutes in the show or so. We want to make sure we get up out of here so we can take care of everything for our Sunday night and fans can get ready to start their week tomorrow. Dave said, I like Latu because he appears more like a football player than an athlete.
He does.
Yeah,
he does.
I agree. Like if you're talking about like right now, like you have to take a pass rusher right now who you feel like can win, like day one, year one, like Latu, yeah, like he has all the tools you're looking for. But my concern with Latu, and it seems like I'm not the only one in a sense, is like has he hit his ceiling?
Yeah.
And like with these guys that you're bringing in, like you're fixing to put them up against the the elite tackles of the NFL.
Yes.
The name's escaping me, but the Trent Williams, that's his name. Like the Trent Williams and the Lane Johnsons and the elite guys of the NFL. Like these moves and this skill that Latu has, yes, it works against that Pac-12 guy who's going to be selling insurance next week. Right?
Jake from State Farm.
Right. It works against Jake from State Farm, but does it work against, Trent Williams? Does it work against, even, a tackle to the caliber of like a Jake Matthews?
Yeah.
These guys who've seen it all. And so that's the biggest thing with Latu is that a lot of people who stake their careers on this, evaluation feel like he's maybe hit his ceiling. As to where a guy like a Turner or even a Verse has room to improve and has that growth. Like I caution anybody, if you're concerned about Penix's age, then you should be concerned about Latu and Verse's age. Both of those guys are 23, 24, right? As to where Turner, I believe, is only 21, if I'm not mistaken. So he's still, a young guy as far as that is, concerned. So that's something else to keep in mind.
Falcon fans, hit the like, hit the share, and don't forget, hit the subscribe button. We have a lot of new fans here in the chat tonight too as well. If you're checking in from Facebook, head on over to YouTube. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers together. JR, you was once on the path to 1,000 subscribers. And then you reached over that mark, and then you're on the path now to bigger and better things. Tell us what was going through your mind there as a young content creator growing up in the content community, getting so close to 1,000 subscribers, JR, and then, of course, reaching that mark and breaking it. What was going through your mind?
It's the same thing that goes through my mind every Tuesday. The fact that people want to sit down and listen to what I have to say.
Yes.
That's something that still, even as long as I have been doing this, is something that is not lost on me. Like my daily, I have a 9 to 5 like everybody else does.
Yes,
like
sir.
I don't do this for a living. Right. And so the fact that anybody wants to, tune in to hear what me or hear what my co-host Jonathan or any of the guests we bring on have to say. And, that quest to 1,000 was a big milestone, and then to hit the 5,000 mark was crazy. That there were 5,000 people out there that liked us enough to subscribe to us. Is something that I don't think anybody should ever lose sight of. Whether you have 10 people in chat or 200 people in chat, it's knowing that hey, these people have decided to give you their entertainment time, right?
Mhm.
Because like you could choose to be doing whatever,
That's right.
but the fact that you choose to sit down and listen to people like yourself, like y'all, like us, like
Hmm.
Smitty, like Uncle Steve, any of those guys. Um, I think it's something that the legacy media should stand up and take notice, and they have, in a sense. Like you turn on ESPN now at lunchtime, it's not Sports Center highlights, it's Pat McAfee
Hmm.
Mm.
doing a show like this.
Hmm.
So they're
Interaction.
noticing, right?
Hmm.
And that's the biggest thing, especially like when we sit down and do our draft show. We stream for 4 hours,
Yeah.
each night, and the fact that people like Josh Gillum, who's in here tonight, will be in the draft stream for 4 hours talking with us. It's just
Hmm.
Mhm.
it's awesome, and it's humbling in a lot of ways.
Falcon fans, hit the like, share, and subscribe button for once again Pound for Pound ATL and us here at One Time for the Fan. But once again, a lot of new fans here in the chat, in the comments, talking Falcons football in a positive way. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to see this team win. They're excited about the draft. A couple more offseason free agency moves going to happen. But then it's time to put the helmets on, put those pads on, get those jerseys fitted, and get out there and play some football. And One Time for the Fan, Pound for Pound, and a lot of other content creators will be covering this every day. You got some people who do this in the mornings, in the afternoons, in the evenings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It doesn't matter. Like, they just love talking Atlanta Falcons football. Atlanta Falcons Fandemic is in the building. Say, can you hear the Benz chant? JR,
La
Latu,
two, la
Latu,
two, la
Latu.
two,
Hey.
That's a
la
crazy
two.
chant in the Benz. I know some fans, they get hooked to some of these names. I remember the Packers had a player a couple years ago. They can say the same thing for us too as well.
Yeah.
I think Beasley too as well. People used to say Beasley or cool, like when they say
Yep.
cool.
Cool.
I
Yeah.
know some people love hearing those type of names. Can you hear a Latu chant in the Benz, JR?
I mean, you get a good sack on fourth down or third down that pushes somebody out of field goal range or whatnot. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you can hear that chant. And look, at the end of the day, if it is Latu, like I'm not like definitely not poo pooing the pig. You know what I'm saying? I think he's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Can he elevate his game? Only he can tell us. We've seen plenty of people come in with a ton of hype who can't. Right? Beasley, the aforementioned Beasley being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had to have a Dwight Freeney. He
Mhm.
couldn't be the Batman. He had to be the Robin.
Mm-hmm.
So
And Dwight Freeney, even at his age, played very well to help out Vic Beasley at that point.
right,
in his career.
exactly. And so, Beasley was never able to rise to the pressure. Maybe it's a deal where, Latu comes in and takes all the challenges as a challenge, and rises to the occasion and becomes a household name. Like, look, I love to be the guy that has to eat crow because that means it's going in the right direction from what I'm having to eat crow on, right? So,
Falcons fans, you gotta love
guys,
this. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No. Go ahead.
No, it's on you, Terry. No.
Guys, if you look at this team on paper, especially with the addition of Eddie Goldman, guys, with a few moves, and they don't have to be major, this is not only a playoff team, this is a team that can go some rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Look, prior to this year, we were a 67 Chevy, or excuse me, a 67 Shelby, right? Which, for those of you who have not seen Gone in 60 Seconds, is a Mustang. It is the most heralded Mustang, but we were a 67 Shelby without an engine. Well, we have an engine now. We got an engine now. And what's going to determine success is how Jimmy and how Zach and how Raheem drive this vehicle. Because if you look at this team on paper, you got Eddie Goldman. You on paper, guys, on paper, you got Eddie Goldman. You got you got Grady coming back. You got Anya Mata, right? You look at you got Jesse, right? You got AJ. You got our linebackers. Have you seen our linebacker
What
room?
Nate Landman did last year is phenomenal.
You got Nate Landman. You got Troy Anderson. You got Caden
Caden
Ellis. You got what's his name that you signed that we got from the Eagles? I can't think of his name, but we re-signed him.
Kadarius Street.
You got some dogs. So if Eddie Goldman hangs around and you mess around and draft one of the big three, I don't care. Give me all of them. Give me one of them. Doesn't matter. Give me Dallas Turner. Give me Jared Verse. Give me whatever. You got a squad, gentlemen.
Yeah.
If this draft is as good as I think it's going to be, you have a squad. You have a potential contender in the Falcons. Am I saying we're going to the Super Bowl? I'm not saying that. But I'm saying we are a lot closer than some people think.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at this roster. And I would love to welcome you. I would love to hear your thoughts. So, gentlemen, go ahead. What say you?
You punch your ticket. Raheem said it. You punch your ticket to the playoffs. He said it the other day in the video. You punch your ticket, anything can happen.
That's it.
Let's start there.
Yeah, you need
Falcons,
to
punch your ticket to the playoffs,
you
and then we'll take it from there.
What did he say in that video? Run the South.
Outrun the South.
Yep, you got to outrun the South. If you can outrun the South, you get your invite in, and you don't know what can happen. You look at what the Texans did last year, right?
Packers too.
They get into the playoffs, and now that breathes new life into that organization where they're like, okay, let's go get a Danielle Hunter. Let's go get,
Stephon Diggs.
Let's see what we can do, right?
And I just texted my Jags friend. I said, Jags ain't winning the AFC South next year. I hate to tell you this right now. It's over.
Yes.
My Jags friend is pissed. He doesn't want to see this and hear this because Houston wasn't a team to even compete against the Jags at one point.
That's true.
Well, but this is what happens when you make the wrong hire at HC.
Yeah.
Like you paired, Urban Meyer with Trevor Lawrence, and Urban Meyer is a bona fide psycho. And like you see what he did to Trevor Lawrence in a year, right?
That was the nice way of Jared saying it. Bona fide psycho. Like,
I mean, bona fide. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say. Like this, some coaches, the reason why they work in college is because they can operate off of fear.
Right.
You're not operating off of fear of people who make millions of dollars. You have to operate off of respect. And some guys just can't. Some guys just ain't got it.
Yeah.
And he's one of them.
Yeah. Jared, don't want to hold you up too much. I know we got to get to some shout outs and then where people can find you on social media. Quick question from MITM Adamsville. Which cornerback do you see the Falcons possibly selecting? Give us 3 cornerbacks in your mind that the Falcons could possibly target.
I'll give it to
First
you in
round,
order.
Second round, anybody.
Yeah, I'll give it to you in order. First round is Quinyon Mitchell or Terrion Arnold.
Alabama.
To me, those are the 2. Then you go start deepening and dropping off from there. You got the kid out of Missouri. Abrams is his last name, I believe. He's got a hyphenated first name, so I can't remember that one.
Abrams Drain, I think it was. Abrams
something
Drain.
Like yes.
Yeah.
That guy. And then Rakeshaw. Then if you go deeper in the draft, Cam Hart out of Notre Dame and Kyrie Jackson from Oregon.
Any mention of Max Melton from Rutgers too as well?
That's where I was going.
Max Melton's another one to keep an eye on. But these are the names that I've heard so far that have been more connected to the Falcons.
Okay.
Falcon fans, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button. We have fans here in the chat talking Atlanta Falcons football. Let's go ahead and get to the rest of the comments here because we do have to wrap it up here on the channel. Diva CC says, Coach Ron made me feel like accountability will be on and off the field on OTA start day. I'm hoping that energy translates to the players. Thanks, guys. Good show. I think the accountability has started from Raheem Morris once he got off that plane.
Agreed.
I still feel like I'm getting ready to go put the shoulder pads on in the helmet and go try out for a position out there on the team. Coach Smith didn't make me feel like that. Raheem has fired me up to where I'm like, you know what? Maybe they need somebody to get them out of a 3rd and long situation. And there's only one person who can do that.
I think
Kirk Cousins, right? Now I got you.
Yeah.
Outside of Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins, there's a guy named Jack Spade. But yeah, Kirk Cousins. That's
okay,
what,
gotcha.
that's what I was
Jack,
aiming toward. I was
80,
going
80,
to
okay.
Kirk
80
Cousins.
on the run. 80 on the run.
80 on the
JR.
run. That's what
80
that's
on
what
the
it was.
run. Come on.
It was 80 on the run. I got it.
Yeah, but
I won't make that mistake again.
That was the play design.
it's
Just
all
roll
good.
out 80 on the run.
80 on the run, man. Simple flick of the wrist. He just
I
put it.
didn't
It was
go to the
beautiful.
huddle. I just spoke to my one wide receiver. That's all.
And guess what? It was touch. It was you know how legends grow, right? So when this thing started, it was 80 on the run. Now we have to call, we have to to give you detail, right?
It was
So
weather conditions too. It was cold. It was
oh my god, it was so
like,
cold.
Look, there were defenders.
Steep.
There was defenders hanging on his legs. While
he threw into quadruple coverage.
We talked about that where my wide receiver fell down during the play, got back up, and I was still able to get over there.
Still able to throw it.
Shit, hurry, get over there. Quick. Fuck it.
He's down there somewhere.
80. What are you doing? Jack Spade, oh my God, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Everything just changed.
In the history of ever. History of ever. And the sad part is nobody caught it on film, but I'm telling you it happened.
It happened.
Hey,
look, talk about it to this day. They talk about it to this day.
Like all you need is two witnesses to collaborate. That's
there you go.
You got two right here. You're good.
There you go.
Atlanta Falcons fan.
I saw the
JR.
film.
Hey, JR, I'll send some people the film, not everybody. Right. JR, as a dedicated Falcon fan since 1978, I've been eating crow for a long time, but it's all a part of being a true fan. Your response to Atlanta Falcons Fandemic.
It definitely at the end of the day, like not my biggest one, but when we signed Cordell Patterson, a couple years back, I was like, man, you're paying a lot of money for a returner. Okay, whatever. And then he ends up being like the entire offense. Basically, it was him and Kyle Pitts that year, and I was like, holy crap, and it's so funny for everybody who want to be like, oh, him and Arthur were butting heads. He sure did sign that contract in Pittsburgh to go play with Arthur again.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I mean, real quick, fast.
He doesn't know how to use him in the scheme. Well, he's playing with Arthur right now.
Exactly. Like he may not have been getting in touches because they spend the 8th overall pick on a running back, but I mean, he sure does like him some Arthur Smith.
Some would say it might not have been the coach all along.
We won't get into that. People ain't ready.
We're not. It was on to the 2024 season.
Like people ain't ready for that. Look. He's not on the team no more. Whatever it is.
Yeah, we could spend a whole nother hour talking about it. But we
should have taken the blue pill.
Sheesh. Not one of these moves.
Yeah.
One time for the fan, hit the like, share, subscribe button, JR.
You don't want to go down this road. Just take the blue pill.
It's 9:15. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Let's wrap it up here because Falcon fans in the chat definitely want to enjoy their Sunday night. Probably get some time to hang with the family, whatever they have to do before they start their work week. JR, Pound for Pound ATL. This has been great talking Falcons football with you.
I appreciate it.
I think we could talk for another hour or 2
easily.
hours about different subjects. Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, the mascot, the field, anything.
Right.
When it comes to
sure, best mascot in the league. Didn't you just get an award?
There you go.
A Falcons mascot won mascot of the year, and you guys love those type of things because it's just building up the offseason.
That's right.
Not only that, but Jack, the 75 points you scored in the game, we didn't even touch that.
Oh man, we could spend an hour breaking down that film.
You know what? That'll be the next time you come on the show, JR.
I could have birdied today too as well. Could have talked about how I birdied
today. Man,
almost birdied today in golf.
Oh my goodness!
On a long 400 par 4.
My man.
Long. I even had the guys with us in our group that was like, "How long you been playing?" I said 2 months. I'm like, hey,
Jack said 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
He said 2 minutes.
I just got here. I didn't even know what club that was.
What's this game again? Golf?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's it.
Let me show you online where I found it.
That's right.
JR, your shout outs for this evening. This has been great talking Falcons football with you. Let's get you back on the podcast again so we can talk more Falcons football either after the draft or OTAs or mini camp, training camp. Hell, you might even be at training camp, but we can do a podcast right there. Right?
You never know where you're going to see me.
And we know that you're out in the streets. And when it comes to Pound for Pound, I saw you at the stadium that day when my friend gave you a card. You gave him a card. A year and almost 2 years later, you're here on the podcast talking Falcons football, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Never know. Never know.
That's what it's all about, man. JR, the floor is yours. Your shout outs, where can we find you on social media? How can fans in this chat know more about Pound for Pound ATL so they can go listen to more Pound for Pound ATL?
As always, it's Pound for Pound ATL on YouTube. We are live every Tuesday, 7 p.m. We will be doing draft shows for first, second days. As soon as the draft ends on the third day, we'll be going live. So it'll be wall-to-wall coverage of the draft. You can find me running my mouth on social media at Grim1128. That's GRIMM1128 on Twitter. That's about the only one I really get on. All the other ones, I'm too old. They confuse me. So Twitter's the one I got, and it works for me. So, yeah, y'all hit me up on
keep trying to verify you every time you enter. Like, can you enter your password for me, please, sir?
I'm like, nope, can't do it. Y'all just better figure it out.
Figure it out, buddy. Figure it out.
But yeah, like I said, we do it every week. Me and my co-host Jonathan, and then we run our mouths as much as we can, much as people will listen.
Any shout outs on behalf of Jonathan? I know he's your co-host for Pound.
Yeah,
ATL.
he's at Jonathan M. Holder. And as he would say, come by, say hi. You can find him on Twitter. And then obviously he'll be there with us. And then for the folks who remember my old co-host Toby, he's got a new show, We Talk Falcons. Go check him out. He's always got some good and interesting deep thoughts to be explored. So definitely go check him out as well.
This is good. This is great, Falcon fans, when you can get Falcon content creators who can come and talk Falcons football with you. And then offline, they will still talk Falcons football with you. So it doesn't matter if we're streaming or we're not streaming. You're going to get the same JR right here from the channel.
That's it. I am who I am.
He's wearing a New World Order shirt.
I mean, for life.
And then he also has his draft hat on, as you guys can see. For those that haven't even seen the draft hat, it's right there. JR is wearing the draft hat. JR, this has been great. We thank you so much for being a part of this.
Yes.
And of course, we will invite you back to One Time for the Fan. Terry, any final thoughts? Any final questions or thoughts or anything for JR before we get him up out here?
No, really. I'm gonna be following his show because, like I say, I'm kind of a fan. But I'm just looking forward to the next time you come back, JR. Hopefully, it is before the draft or maybe sometime soon after. But hey, man, really appreciate it. Appreciate you gracing us with your presence. And I learned something every time I listen to you. So hey, man, good. As far as my shout outs are, hey, shout out to God. Without him, I would not be here. Shout out to my family. Shout out to the wonderful fans of this chat. Thank you guys so much for your support. We wouldn't be here without you. And of course, I have to shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who scored 75 points and the night after that, 80 yards on the run, playing barefoot in the backyard through the rain and snow, throwing
uphill both ways.
Uphill both ways.
The story gets better every minute. My shoe did come off. My shoe did come off on the run. See, I stepped the tackle, all over you. Shoestring tackle. Guy grabbed my foot. I said my shoe wasn't tied anyway, so he just took the whole shoe with him. I said, "Take the fucking. You can have it. I'm on this run. I'm trying to finish this play."
Look, as he was running, he signed the shoe.
That's what happened.
Kept the ball, signed the shoe, right?
That's right. He signed the shoe.
That's what happened.
He threw the other guy his glove, signed, then threw the ball.
That's what happened. All of this happened in 10 seconds. It was a miracle.
Like that. So quick. So quick.
Wow. Yeah. Jack, I defer to you, sir.
JR, this is great to have you on the podcast. I do thank you, sir. I'm gonna do one quick segment. I know you do have to go. Yep. But I'm gonna do one quick segment after you do go. So I know you had to say you take care of some things. We don't want to hold you up anymore. Yeah, JR?
Yep. All right, guys.
All right.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you guys will see more of JR, Pound for Pound ATL. Make sure you go follow them on their channels and social media too as well. JR?
Yes, sir.
Rise up, brother.
Yes, sir. Rise up. Take care.
Bye. Thank you, sir.
Falcon fans, this is great when you not only have a content creator, a Falcon fan who can come in here and give you his thoughts, the facts. I think he mentioned a couple things of Jay Rogers coaching Eddie Goldman too as well in Chicago that some fans probably did not remember that. He also gave the fact about what player has had a significant injury like what Latu has had and has made a impact in the NFL. And they went to Vanderlei, I believe the guy from the Cowboys, who only played 5 years with that injury that Latu has. So is this a win now move with a guy who possibly is going to be giving up putting up almost 30, 40 something sacks, assisted tackles. I mean, not sacks, tackles, assisted tackles, tackles for loss. He's going to be in the backfield a lot. He's playing against some of the biggest, baddest offensive linemen in the NFL. And that situation for his neck, I mean, the injury, like JR said, you're playing against guys who's going to be selling insurance next week in college versus these trusted NFL veterans who's been there for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And they're going to bang and beat you up. They're going to bang and beat you up. There are some players who probably look and say, nah, I'm going to purposely do this.
They're going to beat on you like you owe them money.
To be on you like X, yes. And it's very possible that somebody could get hurt in the NFL, even on the second, third play. Not saying it's going to happen. Don't want it to happen. But when you have an injury as serious as that, JR did give us some insight of why he could be dropping in the draft. Scott Karisic mentioned it too as well when he was on the channel. So it's not one fan mentioning it; it's multiple fans who have talked about this.
And and to your point, Jack, these aren't just fans. These guys are about that life. Like they, they're looking at football reports and statistics every day. They are the most granular, detailed, meticulous of human beings. So, it's not like he just said all this, they've given it thought, right? And it's a concern. It's a concern, right?
And Jared,
I like it, Manuel. I like it. Blue pill. I like it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You talked about it, Terry, and Jared mentioned. How do we talk about things on this channel that the Falcons do not talk about?
Right. We don't. Of course they talk about it. They talk about it all the time. I'm sure
we're talking about it. Terry need to be calling us like, hey, we seen the podcast. We never thought of that shit. You need to get down here ASAP.
That's right. And the second question is, did you really throw Eddie on the run? Did you, we got this third position, Jack. We got this third position. We got
when he said
QB.
that Taylor's going to have to battle for QB2, I immediately grabbed my cleat. Or the one cleat. Couldn't find the other. I think that defensive tackle still has it. Falcons fans, hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button. That's what it's about here on the channel, talking Falcons football with the community, because we are diehard Atlanta Falcon fans. But I want to put y'all on some game real quick. This is a shout out that's very important to me. Big shout out to DSGB Hall.
Yes.
For those that do not know, I'm very tight with a lot of people in the Falcons community, right? And people that you guys don't see too as well. And I received a phone call the other day on a short notice. Actually, I was supposed to be there. I totally forgot about it. The people kept following up with me. I'm sorry, not the people. My friend kept following up with me with it, for the organization she works with. And she was like, hey, are you going to be able to make it out here to Cali for this event? And I was like, oh, snap. I totally forgot about the event, because I was going to go to Cali, hang with my sister, and then go, hang with some Falcon fans that I know out there. And then, of course, go to this event. But I did not get a chance to make it. But then I was thinking, if I had any Falcon fans on the West Coast that can help me out and show up at an event to help out, to volunteer. And so I reached out to a couple Falcon fans who's on the West Coast. Big shout out to the RiseUp tour too as well, because I reached out to some RiseUp tour members, because we have members all over the country. But I reached out to some members on the West Coast. Some were in upper part of the West Coast. Some was, more Southern California. But then I reached out to Ernest too as well from, DSGB Hall. And I said, hey man, there's a situation going on where, some people need some additional volunteers. They're actually set and full, but they can use some additional volunteers. Would you like to be a part of it? And of course, it's the Falcon player that's hosting the event. And of course, DHGB Hall was like, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to be a part of it. What's the situation? And I said, well, there's a camp going on in Covina. And then DSGB Hall said, Covina, that's about 2 hours away from me. And I said, that's good. Would you like to make the drive? DSGB Hall said, sure, I'll make the drive and I'll go help them out. I got a text from my friend, and this was the picture he sent me the day of the event. DSGB Hall on field with Bijan Robinson. Also DSGB Hall, who was hanging out with some more NFL stars. He was also hanging out with Tyler Algier. And as you can see, he's dressed like a coach too as well. DSGB Hall. He's got his Jordans on, but he's dressed like a coach. I said,
He
great
does
choice
have
for the
that
outfit
coach
too
look.
as well.
He does.
You have the
He
coach
does.
look too as well. Towel around the neck, giving the fingers to the peace finger to the sideways, like, yeah, I coached this guy. Yeah,
Only thing
I
he's
coached him
missing
up.
is the whistle. Only thing he's missing is the whistle. That's
The
it.
whistle and the
You know?
hat.
There you
And
go.
the hat.
There you go.
The scene is set up perfect to say that this guy could be a coach, but no, that's DSGB Hall.
There you go.
Die hard Atlanta Falcon fan. He also took some more pictures too as well. He has some video out there. Don't want to play the video because that is Ernest's video, so we can't get copyright strike because I can easily say that that's Ernest's video. But for the benefit of YouTube, I'm not going to do it tonight.
There
you
you go.
can see Todd Gurley was there too as well.
There you go. Go
This is the man who
Dogs.
drove 2 hours
Go Falcons.
to go volunteer in the spring wearing all black to go volunteer for a Falcons players camp. And big shout out to Keith Smith too as well, because he was the one who hosted the camp. But I got a call from the people who one of the organizers who helped put the event on, and I also talked to Ernest as well, and they all said they had a great time, and they do thank Ernest DSGB Hall for being a part of that. And also big shout out to the Falcon players who help put this on, help with the young kids, help with the movement of just teaching the youth the game of football. And DSGB Hall was there. I think he was with a group of juniors or seniors in high school. But when he called me and he texted me, he said, "Man, thank you, Jack, because I drove 2 hours for this. And if I would have known, I would drive 2 more hours." But that's what it's all about when you can connect people with the right people to make sure they have a good time.
Big ups, man. Big ups. Appreciate you, DSGB Hall. Appreciate your dedication. Look, man, most of the time when we have these shows, you're the first one in here. And, I, for one, want to personally thank you for, number one, helping us out, helping out the brand, helping out the Falcons, and just being a dedicated and loyal fan, man. Big ups. Cannot thank you enough, brother. Really appreciate it.
Hey,
Definitely.
Falcon fans, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button. Tell your Falcons friends, tag your Falcons friends, tell your Falcons family, and tag your Falcons family. Bring them into the chat, bring them into the channel. Wednesday night, we are back talking more Atlanta Falcons football. But guess what? Next week, Sunday, we have another special guest. We're getting you ready for draft here. Out of your Falcons mind. John and Mike, they are back with us here at One Time for the Fan. And I have a feeling that might be well more than an hour for the show.
I think so, too. Yeah.
Mike alone can give you an hour and a half talking Falcons football.
Without
and then
a
here
doubt.
comes John to follow it up with another hour and a half to talk Falcons football.
Yeah.
And then you have Terry, you might have Chase, you could have Bodie. It could be a 9-hour show here, ladies and gentlemen.
Could be.
Bring your breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
At least bring a lunch. At least bring a lunch. It's going to be a day. Yeah.
Bring something. Because we're going to get you ready for draft next week, Sunday. And of course, any day this week, you never know what could happen. A pop-up show could happen too as well. Our Wednesday night show will continue. Friday morning breakfast with One Time for the Fan did not happen the other day, but it's back this week, this Friday. And we might have a special guest too as well. Don't forget, we're preparing you for draft. Right?
Yes.
So Falcon fans, I want to say thank you for being a part of the show tonight. Once again, from Terry to Chase to Bodie, everybody here at One Time for the Fan. And of course, from JR, Pound for Pound ATL, thank you all. Right? Let's build this community together, this content community, this Falcons fan base. Let's all stick together. Let's all understand that Raheem is going to put us in the right direction. We can't fast forward to the future, but he's going to put us in the right direction. And when that moment comes, we all can go back here on this channel and say, thank you guys for being so positive about this team. Because at the end of the day, I got to work tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I got to work tomorrow, right? But my golf game is crazy right now. That's even bigger in my mind. What my golf game is crazy right now.
Fire.
Falcon fans, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Terry?
Yes, sir.
See you Wednesday evening, sir.
See you Wednesday.